All right. Let us see. Come on. There we go. Okay. I think we're live now. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another author hangout, as well as round 3 that we have with the Larks coming by. Thank you so much for braving your illness and the Omicron going around. You probably don't have that. I'm not saying that, but it feels like everybody has that somewhere. Yeah, we're so glad you're here. Maya will be joining us shortly, everybody. She time zones, they are a fickle mistress. They are, so she'll be here in a couple minutes. But joining me today, I have Crystal, my bestie, who is fresh off of finishing Kingmakers. She squeezed it in.
I literally just barely finished The Spy like an hour ago.
Yes.
I've been being so patient, guys. You have no idea. I've just been like, come on.
Physical books take me so much longer, so I was so happy to see that The Air is on audio now. So now I need to re-listen to it and pick up everything that I missed.
Yes, we actually have some fun announcements for that. So, whenever it feels like something at Sophie Lark, it's like why don't they have that done? Like why do other normal authors have things that Sophie Lark doesn't seem to have? And that is because everything in our business is a triage. We are constantly, like when you have 2 adults working 60 hours a week, it's like I'll try to do what I can for my 60 and you do what you try to can for your 60. And then the audiobooks, sometimes we forget.
Yes. And then, so we're always just like, what's the number one most important thing that we deliver a great book on deadline?
Yes.
And then it's like, what's the number 2, number 3? And you just kind of have to work your way down the list. And certain things like audiobooks, God, I would love to have them done at the same time as the book. Our goal is to get that done by the time we get to Anastasia.
So we have all of the Kingmakers audio narrators chosen in production. So like in the past with Brutal Birthright, they were coming out like in a delay as the books were coming out. This has been so delayed that they're all going to come out at the same time. They're all stacked. So the rest of the series will be on audio. I mean, it's still going to take a couple months because it has to be produced and fixed, but and also
we have the voices.
We have the voice
for the Sinner's Duet.
Yes, we also, I don't know if you saw our TikTok.
Did you?
Yes, we booked him, and he's.
Oh, that's exciting.
I can't handle it.
He's very popular right now, and he's very booked up. And we slid in his DMs, and we gave some very gentle bullying pressure, and and begged him, and he booked us in for March.
So. Yeah. So, and for anyone who didn't see Sophie's TikTok, there is a TikToker who does voice narrating, and he just did Dana Isley's book or something.
Dipped in Holly, yeah.
Yep. And
he did so well.
We were talking about it today.
Yes.
Today.
All right. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we have all of our audiobooks are being made. The other thing is that like we have a new website that I haven't turned on yet because it's done, and that will offer signed paperbacks. But the reason it keeps getting delayed is because we basically took all of December off to catch up on like the last 2 years of projects that we put off.
Yes, we're also trying to get all my books. They're all translated into German. We're trying to get them up there for our German readers. And there's just a lot of things on the go that are just about ready to be finished.
Yes.
We're also doing not graphic covers for all of the books. We're going to have nice, subtle, classy versions.
Look at there. Look at that question. Look at how I read your mind, what you wanted to talk about. I'm just kidding. Which for everything you're gonna have discrete covers, or
yes, I don't know if we'll do every single one of Underworld, but absolutely Brutal Birthright and Kingmakers and the Sinner's Duet are currently being made in their discrete covers, and then we'll probably do at least Snow and Ivan and some of the Underworld too.
Yes, and what's her name is Emily, and she's a super amazing cover designer. Let me look up her name.
Yeah, Ryan's gonna pull her up here if anyone wants to go look at some of her work.
Her name is Emily Wittig, and she just did all of
Matt and Kate ones.
Tate James, all the Tate James. She just did all of the recovers for those.
She did one for Colleen Hoover and alt cover for Verity. So she's got a lot of really pretty stuff. I think she's going to do some gorgeous designs for us too.
Yes.
Oh yeah, she just did the Rogue King for Hello Lovely box too, right?
Yeah, I think so. Yes.
Yeah, she also just did one for Verity for a box that she's doing. So she's doing a lot of beautiful alternate covers, and so we're going to have her do alternate paperbacks and probably hardcovers for our current series. We were not ever going to do that, but
because initially we were like, I'm not embarrassed of sexy covers. We really want to promote openness. Like, there's no shame in reading spicy books. But the more that our reader group kind of widened to some younger readers and some readers that are from certain cultures that aren't just permissive about those kind of things, we started to realize a lot of these girls really do need it for their own kind of like comfort. They're not necessarily in an independent situation. So then we wanted to make sure everyone had what they needed.
This is true. This is true. Here's a question about the German books. Are they going to have the same covers, or will you be doing different designs for German books?
Probably initially
the same, because the reason is, and like this is for as someone who's been in charge of all the covers, like here's what I will say about that. The cover of The Air with Leo on it, or The Sinner's Duet, sells better than an object or a discrete cover. I don't care what anyone tells you. I'm telling you, I have the data and I have compared it, and it's not a little bit close. It's a miles away close. Yeah. So even like if you look at some of the more recent launches that like have one, like Darling Venom from Parker Huntington has a very beautiful discrete cover, and that paperback as a discrete cover is selling really well. But the normal ebook cover is the one that gets shown to everybody on Amazon. Right. And it has a great cover, and it's strong, and it drives sales. So we will not be taking down any of the covers that people already like. It's just we have, now that she's gotten bigger on TikTok, and we have a 16-year-old girl who's like, I want to buy these, but like I don't want my parents to get mad at me. Can you guys help me figure this out? I'm like, oh, sure, we'll do that.
As Fry says, ultimately a lot of people still want the steamy covers. So
yes. Yeah. Well, like Anna Huang, her discrete covers were in my Barnes & Noble, but not the like original ones. They had those, and her discrete covers are like, those are really beautiful covers.
They're very beautiful, but her book Twisted Games would not have done as well if she didn't have Raylan on the cover. So it helped her launch her brand in her books.
It's true.
That's absolutely true. Yeah.
I mean, I'm going to ask a self-serving question. Have you thought about doing like the lady covers like Deanna Darling has done? Because I'm going to say that.
I can answer this. In fact, if Maya was here, she's late. Maya has actually helped me with this. It's very, very, very hard we have reached out to 4 or 5 Italian models to try and get image, like you go through their Instagram, you find perfect picture, and then
because especially for Sabrina, we really wanted like a Puerto Rican kind of looking model to really suit Sabrina, to really embody her, because in many ways in The Savage, like she's as much the star of it, if not more than Adric. We really wanted that represented, at least on the hardcover. But as Rai said, we have some great photographers for male romance covers, but there's not really that many female models. Even on The Sinner's Duet, that was hard to even find something like that with a couple. It's just there's a lot less selection.
Yes. Part of the reason Mara looks the way she does in the book is because we love that image of what's her name? Mika holding the knife. Like it's a badass image. So it's like, this is what Mara looks like, because we found the perfect image.
There were so few like that. That was just good luck.
Yeah. That's one of the questions someone popped into, is the process of choosing. I've heard you speak on this before, but you did a TikTok about this, right? Did you do one about this? Or was it I don't know. I consume so much of your content. I don't know where you will you talk about it, please? I don't know.
I don't know if I've done one for a TikTok for cover models, so that's actually a good idea if I haven't done. But I this will sound maybe weird, but when I'm looking for cover models, I just want someone who looks very distinct. Like there's handsome, like you're a Bachelor contestant and you kind of look like everyone else who's handsome. And then there's beautiful, where like there's really something unique about your face, which is what I loved about Mika on The Sinner's Duet. She has a very like striking appearance to her. She has personality in her face. That's what I'm always looking for the models. Like Mikolaj from Stolen Air, I've never seen anyone who looks like him. Like he captured my eye immediately. So that's what I'm always searching for. Of course, beauty is subjective, and what I think is the hottest is not what other people do, but it's
the process for covers has changed a lot, and you'll see this if you actually look at through the books. Really, if you go back and look at the chronological publishing of all of our books, you can literally watch her and I figure out what the hell we're doing. But back when we were back in the Underworld books, when she was writing Underworld, I was working full time. So she would write the book and come in and say, this is who it is, this is what he's doing. And then we had to go find cover images.
Yes, and finding the cover images after you've already written the book.
It's a nightmare.
Is the worst, because you need the perfect image that looks like the character in terms of like do they have tattoos and this and that about them? But like the hair, even just matching the hair color and whatnot is so complicated. So it got a lot easier once I was like, pick the cover images first, shape the character after.
What really changed with that process too is that through systematically experiencing Sophie's repulsion at my bad ideas over time, I've learned how to do it, because she in a lot of ways, when people are like, which characters from your book are you the most like? It's like, we're kind of like Cole and Mara in the sense that like, I'm systematically like, okay, here's 5,000 cover images, and we're going to go through, we're going to pick from 5,000, we're getting to our favorite 1,000. We're going to take 1,000 and showing her over time pictures that I thought were good looking, and she's like, not good looking.
You had to learn how to appreciate the kind of male beauty that I believe that women are more interested in, which is men who have emotion on their face. Like, so I want these cover images to really have a level of angst or intensity. I want that shot that just grabs you where they're staring right at you from the cover. And so with Rye, he would pick things that looked masculine or whatever. And I was like, yeah, but where's the sex? Like, where's the emotion? Where's the thing that makes me pulled to this dude?
The Savage was actually the first cover that I ever designed.
Where he picked.
I did the whole thing.
Yeah.
Because she didn't want to do anymore. She's like, no more Kingmakers.
Like, we're done at Kingmakers.
Here's this question for you.
Yes.
I know this story. Tell this story.
No more Kingmakers, no more Kingmakers, no more Kingmakers. And I was like, we're getting like 100 emails a day of people asking for Sabrina book. And so
he found the Savage cover.
Well, no, it wasn't just me. It wasn't just me. I was working with Aaron and Kika, our VP of marketing admins of the Facebook group, and the three of us, I was going through pictures with them, and we were deciding. And I said, listen, because they want it, of course. And so we're all trying to scheme on how to convince her. I said, if we come up with a super hot cover, she's not going to be able to say no. And that's basically what we did.
They lured me laughed so hard. I was like, God damn it.
Now she's like, now I want to write it. I was like, well, if you want
to. There we go. Hello.
Hello. So sorry I'm late. I'm bad at time science.
It's okay. I usually list every time zone when I tell people. I apologize that I did not tell you that. But anyway, we're talking about how they tricked Sophie into writing The Savage for us. We're very
and Maya, I was telling them how you've been helping us try to find Puerto Rican and Italian models, and it's very hard.
My favorite hobby during the workday.
Oh my gosh. Anyway, it's very exciting. Well, yeah, she sent me that picture like 2 months before you're going to tell anybody. And I'm just like, how do I stand the anticipation? I was just dying. I'm so excited about it. And then I used that time to tell everyone. I was like, if you haven't read Kingmakers yet, you should do it. Because when you find out about this next book, you're not going to be able to read it until you've read all these other books.
Well, and technically The Savage, out of all the Kingmakers books, you really could read The Savage most on its own, in the sense that it's almost like a spin-off or a separate story. I will recap anything you need to know. So you could read it on its own. But of course, I always want people to read everything in order to get all the...
You can say that for your legality or your author reasons, but I don't play that game. I'm like, no, you have to read them all. Here you go. I will do that. You can be fair play and tell people, but I'm not going to let people do that. So there you go. Almost everyone in this comment section, I said, oh, did you start reading one of the books? Here you go. Here's reading order. Here you go. Have fun. There's 15 books for you. There you go.
That's what she was saying. I was like, there's no way I'm going to be able to read all of these books in time. And I did it just now. So.
We're very proud of you, Crystal. Good job.
I'll keep saying that.
10 books is a lot of books. It's a lot of books to be like, it's like, well, I have to have fun. I have to read all of this. And it's like, you don't have to, but yeah, you do. You really need to.
It was so worth it. It was so, like, the payoff was so fantastic.
Yeah.
Chef's kiss. It was wonderful.
I mean, it's tough. Like, it was tough because, like, The Spy came out, and all of us who are caught up are like, this is so bad, it's not great, Brad. And there's people being like, oh, I want to read that book. And I was like, no. I said, no, you may not read. And you're just like, what? I can do it. I'm like, I'm sorry, you can't, because the reason I'm squealing, you will not do if you don't know what I'm talking about.
Well, in the chat here, I see Madison is in the chat, Princess of Paperback, and she just did a video log of her reading The Bully and The Spy, and she met Sophie like a year ago. She just read Ivan out of nowhere, and it was like, I love Mafia and I love Ivan, and Ivan is her favorite character. And she hadn't read Kingmakers yet. And so Sophie's like, how do I tell her she really needs to read Kingmakers without telling her she really needs to read Kingmakers? And so she sent her a message that I got to listen to of her being like, after she read chapter 1, and she was like, you better not have fucking.
Oh my gosh. She was so upset. She was messaging me like 3 a.m. She was messaging me. She's like, Jen, what's happening? And I said very sweet, I was like, would Sophie ruin an HEA for you? Would she do that to you? Would she? And I was like, that's all I'm going to say. That's all I'm going to say.
There were times when I was questioning it too. I was like,
no.
Right?
I was like, she would be fired from the Romance Authors Guild if she did that. So we're fine.
I could never, but it was so fun to write because that sense of like tragedy and dread, and then this beautiful sense of relief that just washes over you at just the right moment. I don't know. I love that.
I was in tears in that moment. I'm sorry. I just read it. It's fresh in my mind. Like The Spy, when everything is resolved, I was literally in tears. It was beautiful. And it was so clever. It was so smart. Just, it was the best reading experience.
Well, and I loved returning to those characters. I didn't realize how much you come to love your own characters. And when you get to come back to them and visit them again, you're like, I fucking love you guys. It feels so good to be in your skin again.
That came across really well. Like, you could tell these were characters that were dear to you.
Ward had just finished them too. She did awesome. Yeah, she's in my Discord, and she was like, I'm not the bully, I'm dying. I was like, keep going, you're almost there. So exciting. Oh,
did you like the epilogue too, Crystal? Did you read the episode?
So talk.
So good.
I can't even listen to that song in the car still, or I just like cry. I'm like, oh, okay.
That's been one of my favorite reading experiences that I've had in a long time. That whole series. That's so nice. It was wonderful.
I love it.
So now I also won't be shutting up about them anytime soon. Now that I've finished all of them.
Yep. It's happening. All right. Let's see. So that was exciting. What else do I got in here? Okay. So, where should I go with these? Okay, before we get it, because I have a lot of detailed romance questions, but one of my viewers obviously hasn't watched a previous one, so they just want to know how you guys met each other. So you should tell that real quick.
We have the best how we met story. So,
I don't know if it's the best.
I think because it's so beautiful and faded, because I'm usually a very practical person. I don't believe in magic or religion, but in this one case, I do feel like this was fate. I was living in Canada. I had been dating this dude for well over a year. He proposed to me. I was not feeling good about it. As soon as he proposed, I like burst into tears like an asshole and like ruined his night. And I just wasn't feeling good. And we ended up breaking up, and I was like, ugh, I feel like in this like horrible, weird place in my life. I'm going to just go down to Utah for the summer and like check out this master's program down there. I've never even been to Utah. I don't even know what it's like down there. Just going to go and hang out and like try and get a fresh start. Literally 2 weeks later, I'm like at the gym, all sweaty and disgusting. I see this dude I like kind of vaguely know from Canada. And I was like, oh, that dude. I was like, I look so disgusting. I should just go home. But then I was like, no, I'll go say hi to him. So I walk over, like looking a hot mess. And he's like, we have this little convo. And he's like, hey, you should go out on a date with my roommate. I feel like you guys are really similar. And I was like, okay, that's weird. And you're just like trying to wingman for him. So I like kind of vaguely agree to this date, even though blind dates are so awkward. And I've never even seen a picture of the blind date bride. And then I was like, this little voice in my head was like, you should go. Who knows? Maybe you'll marry this person. What a good story. And so I like go on the date. I've never even seen a pic. Someone knocks on my door, opens up, and it's like, and it's right. And I swear to God, from 10 minutes in our date, we just fucking knew that we were soulmates. Like, we immediately connected.
So we were in the car. I picked her up, and in the car right there, she was very impressive, and I took her to PF Chang's because I'm fancy. On the halfway there, we were kind of talking, and she was very opinionated and had a lot to say, which I really like. I really like. And I asked her. I said, "So why are you single? Like, why
how are you still single?
How are you still single? What's going on with this?" And she goes, "Well." She's like, I'm just gonna let this guy have it. And
I was
goes,
like, I'll just tell you the truth. I was like, I love to argue and debate, and every guy I've ever been with has found it very obnoxious.
And I said, I love that too. And she said, we'll see.
Yeah.
And she did not know that was like the perfect thing that she could have said to me. And so she sat that conversation as
with
we
100% confidence. He said, I said, we'll see. And he said, we're going to be best friends for a really long time. Like,
yes. So then on our first date, I like to do all my dating in like stages. So it's like, imagine it's like a game show, and if the stage
all your dating,
and then we end
all
it,
my dating,
it's like, I'll take you home. So like it was so good.
We went through it was like 9 things. We went to dinner.
We went to PF Chang's, and we went to Color Me Mine, and like talked and painted pottery for 2 hours, 2 or 3 hours, and then we got ice cream, and then we went home and we watched The Saint with Val Kilmer, and it was perfect.
It was like this 6 hours.
My first 4-stage date, because I was like, well, if this is my only chance, let's keep it going.
That's how you do it.
So how long have you guys been together then?
We've been together 13 years. And we from our very first date, there was only one day.
So that was like a Saturday, and then the next Sunday we both played it cool, and we're like, it's fine. And then on Monday we saw each other like every day until we got married.
Every day till the rest of our lives.
I love that. That's the best story ever.
Yes, and if anyone here is a therapist, we have codependency issues. We need help.
I love it. I love it. I mean, in olden times, you didn't get away from your spouse either. If you lived on the prairie with them, where did you go? You were just there. And
yeah, those are better times.
Now.
I like that. It's like if you own land, you also can date anyone you want.
My dad always says, if you were in that situation, he says, and if you weren't getting along with your spouse, you just spent a lot of time milking the cows.
I do have a funny story about our date, though. So the reason you do Color Me Mine is because it gets you another date, because you have to go pick up the pottery like a week later because they have to like kill it.
You guys are familiar with that thing.
I'm going to take a note of that and send it to my son, my 20-year-old son. Okay.
Yes. So that's why it's one of those stages like where you don't want to go to stage 2 at Color Me Mine if you don't like this girl, because then you have to give her stuff back. Yeah. So a week later when it's done, I go into Color because she's like on our date. She's like, I love books. And I was like, but like really? And she's like, not really. Like every day I want to do it. And so I went into Color Me Mine early. So I was picking her up at like 4 or 5. I went in at like 3, and I had printed this certificate that said, Color Me Mine. I took all their branding and put it in Photoshop. This is my first cover that I ever made.
Oh my God.
And it said piece of the week on it, and then it was a certificate that was like, you won piece of the week. And I bought it was right next to like a Borders bookstore. So I bought like a $25 gift card to Borders bookstore, put it in the thing, and I went in and I was like, hey, put this on our thing. We're gonna come in a little bit, just hand it to him normal and just tell him like, congratulations. So we come in there. She had painted this teacup that was like white and blue, and it was pretty. But when she got the reward for piece of the week, she was like, obviously, and like totally thought that she had won. And then she put it up in her room and was like telling everyone that she had won piece of the week.
Guys, the amount that I believed that I had painted the most beautiful mug and deserved this prize, I 100% believed in it. I displayed my certificate. They loved it. I told many people. And then like 3 months later.
4 months in
I was going to say, you told her after you got married, right?
No,
right.
so we were like 4
Tell her
months
later.
into dating, and she was like, I just love that you've just always been honest with me.
That
And I
you've
was
never
like,
lied to me.
I was like, hey, listen, the longer
Oh my
this goes,
God.
it's gonna get bad. I was like, the piece of the week,
There is no
That
piece
was
of the
me.
week.
you've told a lot of people, and you should take it down.
That was the
I mean, at
funniest
least
thing I've
that
ever
was
heard
your
in my
lie.
life.
You know, it wasn't that you have a secret family. It's that you tried to flatter her with that.
I was
Like,
like,
we
I'm
were-
married.
That's like the
and
best thing I've heard all week.
Yeah,
That's
like-
fantastic.
That's a whole different thing. Oh my word. Yeah, someone says that needs to be in a book. I mean, that one's pretty hilarious. I think we need to find a more like exaggerated romance reason of that. I
Well,
bet it's in there somewhere. Let's
I
find
think
it.
though, the real truth to that, and she and I really believe this, is that if you go read the last paragraph of the epilogue of The Spy, and
That's right.
that she wrote that paragraph of Leo and Anna before she ever even wrote the book The Spy. She finished the series before she wrote the last book, and she has an Instagram post about it. But she has taught me, and I have adopted from her, the spirit of adventure and saying yes and believing in something and going for it and doing it. And that is what that story is. That is her leaving a country, going to a new country with no plan, believing that she will find the right thing and go to the right thing. But as long as when she's at the gym and she has an opportunity, she's like, no, don't say no. No, always say yes. Always go to find opportunities. The worst thing that can happen is you have a bad date. She puts herself in front of opportunities to succeed.
Yes, yeah, that quote at the end of The Spy means everything to me, because like there was a lot when I was in dark times in my life. There's lots of times where I felt like a failure, or felt like I had messed up, or felt like there wasn't a good way forward. And when you just really believe that like you're going to have a happy ending, and you're just constantly working towards it and trying to do what you can to get there, and just like always taking steps in that direction, like it's going to happen. Like no one goes to Hollywood and becomes Brad Pitt without believing they will and taking steps, you know, like you just, whatever anyone's dream is, I think it's like, I don't know, I guess that's what The Secret's all about too, like visualizing where you're going to get to.
Love it. I love it. All right. Now I got some book questions. Let's do it. All right. Favorite stuff. How do you decide on the characteristics the second generation characters get from their parents? This is
So
good.
that was very interesting. A lot of times in Kingmakers, I kind of did a gender swapped version of the character. So not all their characteristics, but like Miles is sort of the male version of Ada to some degree. That's who he's parts of both of his parents, but he more strongly resembles his mom. And that's the same thing with Sabrina and the Savage. She is much more like Nero than she is like her mom. And I just think that that's fun to take some of these most intense characteristics and switch them and see what they look like in the opposite gender.
Very interesting. I'm very interested in how that's going to be.
You can also see that definitely in Anna being more like Miko.
Yes. Well, and I think with Sabrina, it will be very interesting too, because not only is Sabrina a Nero, but she's not marrying a Camille. She's also in love with another Nero. And I think it will be really fun. Sometimes I take characters that are opposites and match them up, but this time it's a fire and a fire. So it will be very contentious, dramatic, but fun to see what.
The first 6 chapters of The Savage are full fucking throttle. Like it is, this book starts fast and does not stop.
Yes. Yeah.
So it is whatever you have experienced at Kingmakers or want to experience in this book, it's more.
It's a lot of spice right out of the gate too. So for those that don't want to wait.
Excellent.
Sounds good.
So where is the timeline of The Savage taking place? Just from
Ooh, good question.
Wait, I didn't.
She said, what is the timeline of the Savage? So tell them how it starts.
Oh, that is such a good question, Crystal. So if you remember in the epilogue of The Spy, there's a 2-year gap before we kind of get some additional information about what's going to happen with Sabrina and Adric. And when I was first outlining this book, I kind of expected to have a long courtship that would take place during that 2-year period, and then we would kind of jump to that 2-year point. But I've totally revamped the outline now to take place sort of within that 2-year window, because I really want to speed up the timeline of when they start working together versus when they start dating. I was going to have them start working together much further along in their relationship, but I think it will be so much more fascinating to have them be thrown into a really difficult work situation while they're still very new in their connection.
What's also fun about it is, so the book literally starts with her
First date
on the ship, coming back from Kingmakers and wondering if Adric is going to be at the pier waiting for her, like he said he would. So, and what's really funny about Sabrina is that, like, one of the things I think that she did so well at Kingmakers is that when you go through the different points of view, you experience something new. She doesn't just repeat what you already got. So, for example, in the case of The Heir, where you have Leo, Dean, and Anna, all 3 people wanted to go to Kingmakers. They wanted to be there. But then when you go to, say, The Rebel and you get Kat's point of view, she doesn't really want to be there. And she's little and she's getting beat up and it's hard and it's scary. So you're experiencing Kingmakers from a different perspective. With Sabrina, even though you're like on the ship coming out of Kingmakers, like there's a part where the Chancellor is like looking kind of pervy, and Sabrina is totally fucking with him. And like you realize that part of the reason why he's always perving on Sabrina is because she likes it. She likes fucking with him and she likes it that way. So it's just you realize that
Sabrina is next level bad girl. Like, I've had some characters who are kind of bad but kind of good. Sabrina is not a good person by almost any measure. But she will grow and have personal growth, and she has charm, and there's things that you love about her. But Sabrina's
she's up to trouble all the time.
Yeah.
I was trying to place her in a character alignment chart in my head, and I was like, I don't know where she fits in there. I think we're leaning more towards the do you know what I'm talking about?
I
Mr.
love
Lark,
that,
the character alignment chart.
What kind of quadrant were you looking at for her, Jen? What was like?
Well, I was like, is she chaotic neutral, or is she more leaning
She's
towards
definitely
because she'll
chaotic
just fuck
something.
up everything, or is she more like? I was trying to decide.
Maybe
Ryan's
she
right. I was
starts
gonna say-
chaotic evil and then becomes chaotic good.
Yes. I think Ryan's got it.
I'm so bent because I don't see any of them as evil. They all just have their purpose of where
That's
they
fair.
are. Except for Dean. Dean went from chaos.
That's what's so fascinating about dark romance, though. Like, what actually does make a person good or bad?
Yeah.
What are we
Yeah.
okay with them doing?
I
Are
love
we,
that.
like, obviously, we're okay with them sometimes murdering or being violent or being vengeful. Like, there's so many things that we are willing to give characters a pass on in fiction and still like them and still stand them.
It's so true.
Or when it has dark romance in like the subgenre, because like I recently read a contemporary romance where the dude was just a total asshole, and I was like, dude, you're in the wrong subgenre to be this much of a dick. Like, I need you to tone it down. I need you to tone it down. And I'm just like, you don't have a problem with an alpha hole in the mafia. What's the problem over? I mean, like, there's a difference. So
The context is everything.
yeah.
My theory too is that you can give them any bad characteristic as long as they're funny. Like, as long as they have a sense of humor and they make the reader laugh, and the reader's kind of like, they have a point, they'll go along with them on almost any journey.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
It's that, and
That's
then it's especially if they have some kind of like tragic backstory or like trauma,
Yeah.
then you feel
That
bad
gets
for
me.
them.
Like
That
poor
gets me.
Mikolaj.
Ugh. Him and Dean, it's just like, okay, all right, I forgive you.
Babes.
Well, and that's what's most beautiful in us as humans is that when you give them that backstory, when you give them those reasons, when you make us identify with them or feel pity for them, that's such a powerful thing to be like, well, shit, now I kind of feel bad for this person, and that's what bonds us to other humans.
I like Madison's comment. Cole, no one is a bad person. They just do bad things.
Yeah.
Are you sure, Madsen? Because I have some feelings about that.
Serial killers.
I said this. Those books are fucking fantastic. Cole can stay way the fuck away from me. He can stay way over there. Give me all of my mafia men over that psychopath. But
I loved Cole.
Fantastic.
I really did, especially mostly
People
in
have
book
feelings.
2.
I'm like, my perfect man is Raylan the cowboy man. So that tells me
he's very different than Cole.
Well, and
very different from Cole.
For me, the line for Cole is I can't be attracted to someone who would torture or hurt a woman. So he never does that in the book. That's my personal line. But it's funny because he does murder people on increasingly flimsy provocations.
Right.
Everybody hates a bad critic.
And that's what I said.
It's true. This is true. I mean, I read there's a psychopath that they're serial killers and he killed like a bad mom. Like it was like an abusive mom. And I was like, yes, equality for the murderer. There are evil women just as much, but it's also done for humor in that one. It's pretty humorous.
It's like Dexter, you know, like if they have a code, like a moral code that they're following, I feel like it's easier to justify them being psychotic.
Yeah. There are more increasingly like serial killer romance where they don't have a reason. And those are the ones where I'm like, that might be my area that I don't like so much. I think I want them to have a reason. But some people don't need it. It's you can have whatever you want. You can have whatever you want.
It is fun to examine our own line. And I did the same thing with Mara in the story with who she's violent towards.
Heather, that is just fine. That is just fine. Those books are totally for you. I love it. Sorry, I just love my viewers are so funny. I'm just
so powerful. Yes. Well, that's the point is when you learn about Cole's backstory, it's really sad and it helps you understand why he is partly the way that he is.
Well, and that's what's interesting so the reason I chose the titles, There Are No Saints and There Is No Devil, is obviously there are no saints. I don't believe that anyone is perfect. We all make mistakes. We're all a work in progress. None of us is irredeemable because we've done something fucked up in the past. And then with There Is No Devil, it's also like, is there a point? One of the things that we like about vigilante books is this sense of justice, that when people have crossed certain lines, they deserve like a really violent punishment. And so that's something that I explore in that book, particularly with Mara's mother and stepfather's characters. It's like, well, I just told you that with Cole, no one is so bad as to be irredeemable. But now I'm telling you with these two characters, like, is it possible that they've done something so bad that they deserve the ultimate punishment? And when you've been abused yourself and you have been in that situation like Mara and you have PTSD and you have trauma from it, sometimes you feel like that is the only justice. Like, so I don't know. I'm not making a statement on either of those things. Just in the story, I made the choice that gave catharsis to the reader, but it is something that's an interesting moral conundrum.
Right. And I mean, I think we all in our own heads have levels of depravity or levels of crimes that someone can commit, because what's worse, like there are white collar crimes that just as much like ruin people's lives as they are like physically violent ones that can ruin someone's life. So what's real evil? What's real? So, it's tough. But I think no one will deny that duology took you to another level of awesomeness for a lot of people. So I'm so happy that hit the way that it did.
Well, I was so grateful.
Fantastic.
I was so grateful that people understood it the way that I meant it, that I was like, I'm not making statements about anything. I'm just asking questions or examining how we feel about certain things. And I really wanted to explore the psychology in those books, the psychology of psychopathy, of narcissism, of trauma and PTSD, of sensory issues. And people just really latched onto that and understood it and were so willing to go on that journey with me and really look at themselves. And it was this incredible bonding experience with the readers, because so many girls were like, I felt this exact thing. I see myself in Mara. And since it was so personal to me, she was the most personal character I'd ever written. Hearing other people connect with her more than any other character was like, I just felt soul bonded to the readers through that one.
Yeah. What I like about the Sinner's Duet is it was the most immersive time that we had ever written the books together. And And so that's why I know the characters so well, is because it wasn't just helping you write it, but just understanding, plotting the scenes, and then changing things and how we wanted to map it all out.
That book is really like a metaphor for my own journey of healing through meeting Rye and being able to express myself through my art and writing. So like Mara's journey through the art world is my journey through the romance world. And that is why I think it's very meta and people get to experience the joy of that, because it's like, that's...
I found this on the web.
Sorry.
So it's
Sorry.
Shut up, lady!
I think that the reader gets to like, that's also their journey through romance. Like a lot of us found healing in romance and reading romance, and I found healing in writing it. So I think that people who feel that romance has healed them feel that they went on Mara's journey as well.
I love the art that it inspired in the Instagram community. I mean, she's showing me post after post after post of people doing cosplays and videos and flat lays. I'm like, these are not normal flat lays. This is real art. There's a lot of artists in this community, and I don't think that we talked to this. We talked about this with Fit Rachel when we did a call with her, Rachel Baldwin, and I think she doesn't quite understand that when you're making video, Jen, you, Crystal, when you're making videos, that is art. And if it's entertaining, people want it. They want to see your TikToks. They want to see your videos. They want to see your explanations. If people are watching, they like your art. And so seeing the artistic response to that book was next level.
And because the first book came out and then I went to write the second one, all the art that people created around the first book really influenced my aesthetic and my art for the second one. It was this feedback thing where like I created something, then the whole TikTok and Instagram community created something around it to give to me, and then I was able to build off of that for the second part.
Yes.
It was very collaborative in a very unique way.
I've already seen some from Anastasia as well. It's already happening.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Ward, I had a question here. I love how you explored trauma in that book. Is that something you'd like to include in future books?
Yes, I almost feel like all dark romance inevitably centers around trauma, because I think there's a pretty generally agreed upon idea that those of us who feel dark or do dark things, it is usually because that's what we've experienced in our past in some way. So I feel like there's always a trauma link to dark romance, that they're never really separate from each other.
Yeah. Okay, now we can do this. Okay, all the questions were about this. So tell us some goodness about this.
Okay, so
Woo! Very excited.
I don't know how like in deep to go about it without like spoiling it too much, but essentially
You won't spoil anything.
Anastasia is going to be...
Well, first the challenge was when we were talking with Denise, the TikToker that she made the response to, who's from Russia, is this idea of and everyone calls it a Disney movie because that's what we all do. It's actually from Fox, so it's not technically Disney.
Definitely from Fox.
But we're not retelling that movie. We are not making a romance version of that movie. But it was very hard to come up with a plot that was interesting, that we felt was compelling enough to write about.
Because what I want is to keep everything that everyone loved from that movie, particularly some elements of the relationship between Dimitri and Anastasia. And I want to keep some of the themes or the feelings or the triumphs of the movie, but I really need to change basically the whole plot and structure, because it's not public domain. So you can't technically retell the movie.
But Anastasia is someone that we feel like her life was short. Whether her parents and Mary were good rulers or not is a separate issue. She was 17
Also
and
a
she was killed and she was deprived of love and a happy ending. And so we want that character to have that. But what we're not doing is, this is not amnesia. She was not like in an orphanage somewhere and we're starting like that movie. That's not what this book is at all. So it's something different than that.
So basically it's set in an alternate fantasy universe with characters loosely inspired from the historical figures. I'm going to make Anastasia older because I don't want to write anything spicy about a 17-year-old. So she's probably going to be about 20, 21. And at the start of the story, we're going to begin with basically her family has been killed and Rasputin has taken over this version of Russia. In their world, everyone has some level of magic powers, but it's usually very small, very limited. The Romanovs have been in power because they have a higher level of magic versus the average person. Rasputin, of course, also does. He's very powerful. So that's where the magic element of the story comes in. At the beginning of the book, Anastasia and Dmitri are going to be very much enemies to lovers, much more enemies than they are in the movies. They're going to be very much opposed, but they're sort of brought together by their mutual need to get rid of Rasputin. And then the story is going to go on from there. And it has a big kind of like surprise in it, but I don't want to give that part away. So
yeah, wow, that's exciting. Is it going to be like you said, alternate? Is it going to be like historical? Like, is it like gas lamp fantasy, or like how's that? Steampunk type. Like, what are we dealing with?
Yes, I'm going to start it in 1918, and I am going to kind of go with that Art Nouveau steampunk flavor for that time period. And I'll definitely want to lean into some of the very like I want to really give a feel of like it's not just magic, it's Russian magic, it's Russian culture. Because later when I expand that universe in a trilogy,
you could explain what we're doing.
I want Anastasia to be a prequel to a trilogy that I'll put out in the fall.
So Anastasia starts in 1918 in an alternate world where there is magic.
Yes.
And then in October, are releasing her second fantasy book that comes out October 1st.
And that one will be in the modern era. And then our world will kind of expand. So you'll see there's lots of different kinds of magic, and they're all related to where they developed in. So you have like Russian magic, you have like maybe Salem magic. So there's lots of different kinds of magic within this world that are kind of related to the cultures in which they originate. So I think that'll be really fun.
We're very excited about this. I don't even know what else to say. I'm like, I'm very excited about this. Are you just not so excited to go full research and world building, Sophie? I know how much you love doing that stuff. So,
yes.
Are you going to Russia this summer? Just tell us you're going.
Oh God, I wish I would love to go to Russia. I don't know.
Ryan's like, shut up, Jen. Don't say that.
Well,
I'm not going to Russia.
I hear things in the news about like a war kind of situation over there with the Crimea. So I'm like, shit, I really did want to go there, and now it looks like it might get sketchy.
Might get sketchy. It's been sketchy for about 100 years.
Yeah. The story you're about to tell is going to explain this.
Yes.
Asking the real questions, Madison.
That's a good question.
So because we did get an artist to do this cover, I would love to get her to do a map as well. I should ask her about that because I am not talented enough to draw a map, but I love fantasy maps. I'd love to.
Oh yeah, we gotta have that. Oh yes. So you're gonna do a trilogy. It's a prequel to a trilogy. That's the plan.
Yes, so the trilogy is going to be something a little bit different. So Anastasia is going to be a standalone, and it's going to kind of be a prequel, not to this trilogy in any specific way.
Just to the world.
Just to the world. Like, what's the magic in it? What's it like? And then we have our first fantasy series, which will come out every October for the next 3 years. So this is not going to be, this will be Sophie's first non-rapid release. This is going to be drawn out over a long period of time.
Because I want to make each book very epic, and I want to have the time for it. So I'm going to put really long blocks between each of those. And then if I have time in between those as well, I'll continue writing Mafia and Dark. Not always fantasy.
So when is Anastasia coming out? When's the release? Do you have a release date for that yet?
July 17th.
Yeah, that's the release for that one. And The Savage is in March. So that's our current calendar.
March, July, October. We can do it.
Well, and we have done a really good job. Well, she has done. I just was kind of along for the ride. But she has had a book come out basically every month for 24 months. And so because we're trying to catch up a little bit on the process of like where people are like, why isn't the audio ready? And it's like, well, if we just got the manuscript done 4 days before this goes live on Amazon, the audiobook can't go to the narrators until that day. And then it takes months on top of that.
Yeah.
So
we just want to catch up with everything. We want to offer signed paperbacks to people. We have a lot of things that we've put off that we want to be more on top of the ball about.
So we'll have some releases that are a little bit slower of a release schedule to start the year. March, July, October is very slow compared to years past, but our plan, we'll hope, is to also have a book come out November and December as well. So the back half of the year will be very backloaded.
And the books are all going to be longer and more detailed and more intricate, which I think they're just going to be the best possible books I can put out. I've rewritten the beginning of The Savage several times because it's like, I don't just want to bang it out. I want it to be the best one yet. So.
Love it.
Melody has a question. You were just pulling it up? Yeah.
Yeah, I was doing it.
So that is a really good question.
Is that a spoiler?
No, it's not a spoiler. It's just something a little bit different.
So there's one main female character, and over the course of the trilogy, she is going to have more than one relationship, though ultimately ending up with one person. So if I was going to liken it to something, I would kind of liken it to Buffy the Vampire Slayer. There will be other characters or other couples in the story on the side, but she's the main, and she will kind of be the center of the trilogy.
Also, there's a high probability that there's going to be other points of view. So think about the Kingmakers experience, where you're like, there's Shay and there's Ozzy and there is, Gideon and Ares and all of these different characters going on other than just Dean and the main. There's going to be more of that.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes, I would compare this to a Sarah J. Maas situation. Let's just pull out the big gun if we're going to call it.
Yeah.
Selena had her love interest, but there was one end game.
Yeah,
and we enjoyed them all
interest.
along the way.
Well, I just feel like if you're going to really follow the hero's journey and you're really going to follow a woman's development, we have multiple relationships in our life. None of us ends up with the first person we ever dated, usually. So I just like showing that, like, one of the themes of that series, which I'm gonna tentatively call it The Sex Witch, but I don't think Amazon's gonna let me actually title it that. But that was our working title, is The Sex Witch. One of the themes of this trilogy will be that everyone you're with influences you or changes you. Like when you spend time with someone or bond with them or work with them, their magic changes your magic, and it changes even sometimes your appearance. So I just kind of want to show that, like, the people you associate with, the people you work with, the people you bond with have an effect on you, and sometimes it can even be seen on you.
And you'll see some of that in Anastasia as well as you learn the world.
Yes.
That reminds me of how Brad Pitt has always changed his appearance based on who he was dating.
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
We were just rewatching Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and he is so hot in that movie.
Oh my god, yes.
It's almost too much for me.
Almost.
I don't know if you'll ever see three more charismatic, gorgeous people in one triangle as him, Leo, and Margot Robbie. My God.
Oh,
for real.
Yeah. Oh, yep. Okay, let's see. All right, okay. I have a couple other pre-asked questions. Otherwise, if you guys want to be asking more questions in the comments, let me see. Oh, yeah. Well, this is kind of good. You were kind of talking about this, but I wanted to ask this because, yeah, you definitely did your rapid release. I'm happy you haven't completely burned yourself out, so I'm glad you're slowing down a little bit. This is wonderful for your longevity.
If I was really going to describe it, I would say I had a lot of easy stories in me, like the stories that are kind of the first ones that come to your mind. Like, it's like, oh, a kidnapping Beauty and the Beast retelling. Like, that was Stolen Air was so easy to write because it was a story I had wanted to write for a long time. But now I'm kind of moving into stories that are more unusual and more complicated. Like in The Savage, there is a lot of metaphor and imagery around addiction and Sabrina and Adric's relationship with each other. While it's very passionate and it can really help them be the best versions of themselves, it can also be toxic and result in toxic behaviors, much like addictive behaviors. So something like that is just a little bit more complicated than some of the things that I've written before. So it just takes a little more time.
Okay, good stuff. What's a subgenre of romance you don't think you'll ever write? People always ask what you want to write.
I'll never write anything clean. I could not.
Thank you, God. We're very happy about that.
And we thank you for it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, from our first interview we had, the two things that came out back then were that you wanted to write a serial killer romance and you wanted to write fantasy. So what's the next wishes you want to throw out there? You know,
that's right, Jen. You make me name my crazy.
I know. I'm like, put that goal on the tree there, girl.
That's thank you, Jen.
Would you ever do like a paranormal romance?
Oh, hell yes, I do paranormal. Vampires are my favorite thing in the world.
And it's so bad.
Literally.
I have some vampire books saved up for Fantasy Romance February next month, and I'm very excited because that throws me back to like 14 years old. Like, but JJ McAvoy, I guess, has a vampire series. She also writes Mafia, and she has a vampire series. And I was like, oh, girl, I want to see how dark you go with them because let's be real. The metaphors transfer over very nicely from vampires to Mafia back and forth here. Like,
it's a very natural fit. Like,
right.
Mutilage was definitely had vampire vibes in my mind, and so did Cole.
Definitely.
Like,
that's probably why those are some of my favorites, those two. Like, I love vampires.
Well, the way that Cole stalks Mara is very reminiscent of like an old school vampire movie. The way that she is attracted to him when she knows that he is lethal and dangerous. Because isn't that what vampires really represent, is like that we are drawn to things that we know are dangerous that might devour us.
We're getting to hear a succubus. Oh my God. Yes. That's what we want.
But in a different way. Alien romance.
Maybe
that could be fun. There basically here's the trick. Here's the trick, Sophie. You basically pick your favorite sex toy and you put it on a monster. That's how you write alien romance. That's how you do it.
Like, how would you put me on a monster?
I just you're already her hero in all of her books, okay? You already are. I mean, I just had Tiffany Roberts on my channel last weekend, and they have a spider alien romance that is one of my favorite things I read last year. It's so amazing. But he literally, I'm telling you, don't make that face. It was one of the most romantic books I read last year.
Let me tell you something. Every once in a while, I can make that face with 100% confidence. I'm not going
to. It is so romantic.
I didn't say monsters can be sexy.
Monster Smut is having a moment right now.
All my people are going for it here. Because here's the thing with that. The uglier and weirder looking they are, the more romantic and sweet of a hero they have to be to win over this human who is like, you are a creepy looking creature.
You send me a snake monster and he's very constricting. He can do things. That's fine with me.
I've read the snake. Spiders. I've also read the snake. Hold on. Jen has something for you, right? Hold on. Holding.
Is it a picture of the spider monster?
Oh no.
It is this.
Ow.
No. He has built-in sharabi rope ready to go. It's fantastic. I don't think I have that one. See, I have this one. Look at this. Look at this. Right up our me.
We love spiderweb bondage.
It's fantastic.
I'm gonna go report that book.
Men are already inherently monstrous to women. Like, we already find you really intense and over the top.
Listen to my people. They know my stuff. The one other thing I want to say about that, my brain just went like, because it's exciting. But yeah, the crazier and like weirder the creature they are, the better like partner they have to be to win the person over to them. And
how about Beauty and the Beast, man? What's wrong with that? That's a great story.
because being furry is so just like boring. Like, that's not exciting.
What do you think spider legs are? That's
okay. Have you guys seen the Creature Cafe series by Cleo Evans that's been recently out? So she has these novellas, and like it's like this coffee shop where the barista matchmakes monsters with humans. And so each novella is a different monster. And so the third one I think is like a minotaur, for example. And there are dragons and like random crazy shit and like an incubus. And it's just like, these monsters are really scary, but they just want to find love. Like, it's basically the monster bachelor kind of.
For paranormal too, you can always go the easy route where they're like a shifter, so they can turn into something really creepy, but they sex in their human form. You know,
Sophie doesn't do easy routes. Not with her.
I
voice.
mean,
She's like, how can I paint myself into an impossible corner in the spy and write it in 20 days?
Okay. That I forgot one of the things I was going to say because I get excited. That's what I was going to talk about. So Tiffany and Robert, Tiffany Roberts, they're a writing duo. They write their books as role play and not the kinky version, like literally like for like Dungeons and Dragons, like that's how they write
Live action role play, RPG.
Yeah. So they have shared computers, and he does whatever the male creature is, and she does the female, and they write together. Isn't that amazing? That's fantastic.
Because I have a hot take for you guys about co-writing that I've decided from working with Fry. I tried the normal way of co-writing. I think the normal way. Maybe I'm just wrong and this isn't what other people do. I tried the way where one of you writes the male chapter and one of you writes the female chapter and you go back and forth. I did it with Jane Henry. She was a dream to work with. She was incredible. The book turned out great. Brock was there. But I felt like it was just writing in the next room to each other and that it wasn't as collaborative as I wanted it to be. And when I've been co-writing The Savage with Rye, I will write, like I'll tell him a concept, he'll tell me some ideas to fill it in. I'll write a first draft of the chapter. I bring it to Rye. I read it out loud to him so I can kind of hear how it flows and how the dialogue sounds. He pipes back at me with like better comebacks if he thinks he can like punch up some of the lines, or he gives me an idea of how he thinks I could make. He's like, instead of having Sabrina do this in response, have her do this. And then I do like a second version of the chapter. So it's almost like, I almost feel like if you co-write, if you write alternate versions of the same chapter, sometimes I think that's better than alternating chapters. But this is a new theory that I have, and maybe that's not true for anyone but me, but I don't know.
I mean, however your books get written, I'm here for it. I thought they were just super unique. Their story's super unique too, because they met and became like together because they lived in different places and did role playing like on computer, and that's how they met. And then when they started writing together, like that's how they do it.
They're like, we're going to do this in Messenger anyway. We should just publish it.
So they'll like write it together. So he says sometimes he's like, sometimes my men aren't as alpha as I mean them to be because I can't be mean to her when I roll. It's so cute. And I was like, you can be a little bit meaner, Robert. It's okay.
It's like, get spider legs and do everything.
I bet it's really good though. Like, I bet their scenes have a lot of energy, and I bet it really sounds like two people.
Yeah. They have ones that aren't spiders, Rye, okay? They're not spiders. I read the Snake Alien this year too.
I'll start there.
Oh my gosh, that one. There's some
all too hot for you.
They're spicy. They're spicy. But anyway,
which one?
Okay. The Naga Brides by Naomi Lucas.
Oh yes.
Mm-hmm. Those are good.
I want to read the one Maya said too. The coffee shop matchmaker sounds fucking adorable. I want
They're so cute, and they're really short. They're like 100 pages each.
Yeah. Lillian Lark has a matchmaking witch that like matchmakes too. That one is
by
like,
the Kraken.
Yeah. See, he's a Kraken, but he has a human form. But he can transform parts
he's so
if
hot.
he wants to. It's pretty great. With permission, of course. Love it. Okay, that was most of my pre-done questions. This one, someone always asks this, and like I know what the answer is, but tell the people.
So, well, sometimes initially we always said Ivan and Sloan because they are true partners and they prioritize each other over all else and they respect each other as absolute equals. I have been feeling when I was writing Cole and Mara that was also very like Rise in My Journey Together. But I felt that it was a little bit weird to say that he was most like the most psychopathic character.
I am a lot like Cole. And
whoa, what?
There's a lot of, being warm and friendly and nice is not a mask. I'm not actually a full psychopath.
Ryan is very, very, very compassionate.
I'm very systematic in the things that I do. And so there's like the experience of Mara teaching Cole sound and taste and life is something that I've very much gotten from Sophie. So because I can be very much like just very matter of fact of whatever the most optimum process is. And she's like, stop making everything a process and experience it. But I would still agree that we're probably day to day, we're probably still the most like Ivan and Slow.
Yeah. I mean, your writing and creating is ever evolving. So that makes sense that for a long part of your creative process, like that's the couple that clicked first the best as like, oh, I see the most aspects of the both of us in here. But now you're looking and diving into like deeper levels of your relationship as you need to pull out different things to write new stories. You're going to come across those other things.
Well, and that's so accurate, Jen. Like in The Savage, when I'm exploring the addiction metaphor, and the Sabrina and Adric's attraction to each other is incredibly powerful, and it allows them to do incredible things together. But it's also a force that can like warp your decision making, and when you're too passionate, it can really fuck with how you perceive things, and it can make you a lot more chaotic in your decisions or a lot more irrational. So it is very true that I want to take some of the things that we've experienced and then kind of explore like what it looks like in its most extreme iteration.
I love that. Maya, Crystal, do you have any questions for them? I have a couple that are my personal ones, but I talk a lot. So what do you guys have for him?
I guess I have a question just about your writing process in general, because it sounds like you've always been a book lover. And so how did you write such great books so quickly? Like that's the thing. Like just looking back on this last year,
I can tell you. She won't tell you the real answer. The real answer is the real answer is when I married her, I did not know that she could not go on Jeopardy, but she could win Jeopardy. And this is something that she is so well read. She has read tens of thousands of books of everything. So like I came in the room once and she was watching Jeopardy. If you're a trivia person, you don't have any idea what I'm talking about. If you're a non-trivia person, well, you're with me. You're of my people. When I watch people play Jeopardy, if it doesn't say NBA, the 90s of the NBA is the category, I don't have fucking any idea what they're going to talk about. And so I built her as she started playing, and she knows the answers before they're even clicking in. All of them, like all the way across. And so I would build her spreadsheets, and she would play Jeopardy and play along. I would get her like old episodes so she could score herself and see how she was doing. So the reason she can write these books so quickly is that when she's doing tons of research while she's writing them, but she has this incredible ability to be like, hey, didn't that thing happen somewhere in 1920? She knows enough about everything that she knows what to research and what to dig into and what to find in a way that she can do so much detail in such a short period of time.
And that is honestly like so impressive. Like on like a very granular plot detail level, like your books, especially the Kingmaker series and the There Are No Saints duology, like there's so much detail that's all leading to the final moment. But you also have such depth to your characters too, you know? And so I feel like to have characters that are real and have real emotions that comes across in the book that way, and relationships that work, esteem obviously, plotting obviously, it's just like I don't understand how that's possible in such a short amount of time. Like, I think it's incredible because usually authors who are very prolific, they do one of those things really, really well. And that's why they sell, and that's how they produce so quickly. But you are hitting all of those things.
Well, thank you, Crystal. That's like
it's just very impressive. I don't know that that's a question. I just
no, it's the kindest compliment in the world, and I really appreciate that. And I that's absolutely what I want to give to you guys. I think you're really going to enjoy in The Savage. I'm really going to do a very specific and detailed look at Sabrina's rise to power in Moscow. Like, she's going to go to Moscow and she's going to empire build like from the ground level up, because she's Nero's daughter, but she wants to be a fucking gangster. So she's going to go there, and I'm really going to dive into like, if you were trying to go to Russia and you were trying to build a criminal enterprise, what could you do? What would that look like? Like, especially if you're a girl. So I really want to try and give a believable view of what that could really feel and look like from a business perspective. And this is what Rye is helping me plot for this particular book, what a absolutely innovative drug kingpin empire might look like on the nitty-gritty level. I think it's going to be really fun.
I'm very excited about that.
I think something that you do that makes you stand out from a lot of authors that I read is the integration of music into all of your books. I think we got a kind of a bit of a peek inside of your mind in the Sinners duet, with Mara kind of explaining how important music is to her and how it's like her little pod and how she can just shut out the world and like listen to music. And so whenever there are playlists and they're integrated into the chapters, I always put those songs on when they're there because I want to be able to like fully immerse myself in those scenes. So my question is, how is the playlist building process going for The Savage and /or Anastasia?
Well, with every book that I do, I spend more time on the playlist than the one before. In fact, when I go back and I look at the Brutal Birthright playlist, I'm like dying to like go and make them better because they're very short. And I didn't spend the same amount of time on them, and they're good, but they're not as crafted as the ones that I do now. So I would love to go back and just even make those ones even better. But so with each subsequent playlist, I'm spending more and more time on it. I take a larger initial group of songs. I'm up to like 100 per playlist now. And then I pare it down to like the 20 that I think are the most perfect. And lots of times everyone's like, I want all 100. And I'm like, I don't think you do, because I believe that the whole power of the playlist is if you really love all 20. Like if you're obsessed with all 20, you want to play the whole playlist in a row, not skipping any. That's the experience I want to give you guys, if I can. Obviously, there's music, but it's become this really interesting thing for me too, because you know how some songs are better on repeat? Like if you put them on repeat, they almost put you in this like meditative, hypnotic state. That was something I had never experienced until I started writing with songs on repeat. And then I was like, oh shit, there's like a higher level of listening to music where the song almost like puts you in a floating mind state. So I don't know, that's what I'm trying to achieve with the playlist. Obviously, if I can even have you find one new song from each playlist that's like new to you and you love it and it makes you happy, then I already won.
I literally have made myself like a Sophie inspired playlist where I pull my favorites from each of the playlists and then I keep building off of it because Spotify will then like tell me other things that they think I would like. So it's been so efficient for me. But like I listen to that like every day.
Well, and when the song is a new song to you, when you find it with the book, it really melts it to the book. So like that Love Change song by Cannons that represents Anna and Leo, and it's like their theme song. I had never heard it before I started playing it, writing those scenes. So now like every time I hear that song, it like puts me in the exact mood of the air, and it almost plays the book as a movie while I'm like listening to it. So I love to give the reader that experience if I can kind of meld them together in their mind.
It's also helped with our writing process because I always say our writing process. She writes the book. Mr. Lark, let's not get carried away about what you're doing. She will curate the playlist from like say 40 songs, and when we're driving somewhere together, we'll listen to the music together, and she's like, oh, I found this new song, listen, what do you think? Is it good enough to be on the playlist? And then if it is, the answer is we think yes, then we'll keep listening to it and then I'll go through the songs and try to hear the song and imagine a scene that would fit the music. Instead of writing a scene and finding the music later, you hear this song and you think,
like not quite.
Yes. Like what would match this? Especially so it's like not like, oh, we should put it in a sex scene. It's like, no, not a sex scene, but like
what kind of sex
scene would match this music?
What does it mean to the characters? I really test the songs on Rye because when I hear a song, like there's this song that I'm so excited to play on the Savage playlist where it has like a very dark, mysterious sound to it. And Sabrina's going to play it the first time she goes to a real Russian club where Adric's showing her like the real of Russia, the real gritty underbelly, the who's who, the who's players. So I wanted this song that just like puts you in this very like creepy, mysterious mood. And so I played it in the car for Rye to be like, what is this like put in your head? And it like immediately had the same effect on him. So I'm just testing like what the mood feels like for other people too.
Love it. I love it. Victoria wants to know, are we getting some spicy same-sex action happening.
So there is FF and FFM scenes in The Savage. I don't know if I would ever do MM because I don't know if I feel like I have enough personal experience. Like I like to write things based off of what I've done or what I've felt, and not everyone is like that. Some people are really just imagining, but so I guess
a girl.
So I guess I just would feel a little bit stupid writing MM, but I don't know. I'd never say never to anything.
I like it. Well, Ruth thinks that you write books together. I think that you do. It sounds like the process for you.
Yes.
No, we have not written all of our books together.
It's become increasingly more that way. Towards the beginning, I more did it myself. But starting in the Brutal Birthright series, where I became a very integral part as I began to write myself into corners and require help.
No. I will take a little bit of credit where it started to come, which was I didn't really start helping her write scenes from the books until basically a couple scenes in Brutal Birthright, where she said, like, hey, I'm stuck. Like, how is Nero going to do this heist? What are you going to do? How can I fix this? Or how could Nikolaj act like he was exchanging a witness and get out of it? And like, so those kind of specific scenes. It wasn't until Kingmakers where I started getting invested in who the characters were before she started writing, so that I understood what they were doing. So I haven't really started helping write the books until Kingmakers.
Rye had a very long and successful career in sales and finance, and he has a very deep understanding of how humans will behave. Like, if you put someone in a certain situation, how can you persuade them? Or if you do this, how will they respond? He's very good at predicting human behavior. He understands psychology. So a lot of times I'll go to him when I'm like, if my character does this provoking thing to this other person and they're like this, what will they do? That's what you're like the absolute most useful at.
It's that coal overlap. And I can sometimes feel very murderous from time to time.
Mr. Lark is just watching everyone from the shadows.
Let me see if there was any I missed. I'm going back. But do you have any other special things you want to tell us? Did we get to all of your announcements you wanted to say, or do you have anything else you want to drop on us?
All the news of any news?
I'm not even sure we gave away what we were already supposed to. Like,
yeah, that's why I'm asking.
We don't really have a great plan here. We're just.
I feel like we were super chatty Cathy's today, and we talked a ton, but maybe not on anything.
Yes, this is all off the record. She's like, nope, it's recorded.
No, it's here. You were saved from a couple of things you said before we went live, but
yes,
they also made
I don't remember what those are, but thank God. I want to just thank you, Jenn, specifically because we have seen a rippling effect from your YouTube videos. Really, you are an influencer among influencers. People want to hear you dissect books that are creating content for other people.
Would you say I'm right in saying Jenn was the first Sophie Lark scholar where you really like broke the books down in a very analytical way? And I love it because that has encouraged that type of conversation around the books. And I love talking about them that way. They're very representative and historical.
Yes. So we really appreciate how, going even from the last live and even before the last live, how much that you have expanded our readership, because you can see it. I mean, she'll show me posts all the time in Love Larks being like, I saw Jenn on Book Refuge and that's why I'm here. And that's really cool to see, because I know like Maya has made us beautiful flat lays and they're beautiful and everyone likes them, but sometimes they're trophies for the people who are already reading and digesting the book. And that's really important because it creates fan service. But you're broadcasting, Jenn, on a way that's like really recruiting people who are influential because they want to hear what you have to say. So we just love being on with you, and we really appreciate how you help us.
I'm so glad. It's such a pleasure. It makes me so happy. I scream inside every time someone's like, I started reading these because of you. And I'm like, that's all I want. It's all that I want you to do. Second only to people saying they read Outlander because of me is when they say Sophie Lark. You know, if you write me a Highlander romance, Sophie, you too could be on this
Highlander romance.
Outlander
oh my God, write me a...
And deserves to be in the pantheon forever. Like, it's just such a perfect series, Jen. You pick well when you pick well.
Oh, thank you. I mean, it's the heroes. You write wonderful heroes. You write wonderful heroines. But I think sometimes it's a hero that can catch someone's eye, and then it's like, oh, wow, who's this amazing woman who makes this guy keep it? He's got to be on top of it to earn such a great lady. So, I mean, thank you so much. I love having you guys here. I love seeing how many people are reading your books now. And when you just have millions and millions of dollars made because of your books, I hope that I help in some way to get there. That's all I want. So
you guys all help us all the time. We are incredibly grateful for you. We love talking to you. What I was saying before, you guys feed us with everything you create. When I'm not feeling that inspired, I get on TikTok, I look at your videos, I get on Instagram, I read your stuff. It like fills me with life and energy. You guys have all these creative ideas about what you like in books, and it like inspires me to write better versions of that. I just fucking love it.
Yeah. I remembered a question. When do we get to come and meet you? Because holy shit, I would like to do that. Where are y'all going this year and everything?
So we had to cancel the ones that we were going to do in Europe in the spring, which was unfortunate. But with the COVID stuff and with our daughter who can't talk right now, we just had some things that we were like, we don't think we can go away for so long. But we did book some smaller weekend trips.
So sightings this year, I mean, but they're all booked now. But we're Boulder, Vegas, DC, Dallas, I think is what we're signed up for this year. And obviously we still have plans to do a giant Love Lark gathering in Vegas for all of the fans around the country that want to come to one place, which we're still going to do. I just cannot book it with the things that are going on with COVID. We have to keep delaying it. So, but as soon as travel normalizes around the world, then we're gonna do that too.
We don't want to have to wear masks at like a party if we do anything.
Right.
And not that I'm being against masks. I'm just saying
we know what you mean. We know what you mean.
Everyone
we want it to be safe that we don't have to wear masks to see each other.
Exactly.
We understand.
We want to see you, everyone, and talk. And
yeah.
So if you are not booked to some of those showings, or maybe not wanting to go for whatever reason, we will have a joint meeting where people can fly in and come to a Sophie Lark event, and we're going to have other authors come join us as well.
And maybe we'll make a post on exactly which signings and the dates and everything. If people want to try and meet us at the ones we're going to, I can make a post about that.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks everybody for showing up. This was so much fun. And yeah, I'm so excited for what 2022 is going to be. I mean, it's going to be so great. And yeah, we'll just hope that the world can get healthy in more ways than one in the next year. Would be fantastic. So,
exactly.
Yeah. Well,
thank you, girls.
Yeah. Bye, everybody. Bye.